Alright, so I'm making this video on the G33 magnifiers. It's something that I've tried to look up the information about, and I've kind of had issues here and there getting actual answers on the details behind the heights of whether or not you have the spacer installed or you don't have the spacer installed. This is probably a good reason why, if you run magnifiers and you have multiple setups, it's probably advantageous to have two magnifiers, and you can use them across several or a lot of different setups that you may have. So basically, the absolute co-witness on a Eotech is actually more like 1.5. No, I'm sorry. At the XPS sits around 1.4. The EXPS, which is their lower 1/3 mount, or the one that has the QD lever, this one sits around 1.7. So everybody knows that lower 1/3 is somewhere between 1.5 to or 1.54 to about 1.7. That's your lower 1/3 range, and then 1.4 is your absolute co-witness. Well, with Eotech, these G33s, they've kind of, I do like the way that they've done this. If you are not running the spacer, so you're using it in the low configuration, this is just a Vortex red dot with a standard absolute co-witness mount. This sits around 1.4. So with this height, the G33 will sit, I kind of have this thing, it's kind of janky how I have it mounted, but it sits just a little bit tall compared to the 1.4. It does work. You can adjust the elevation if you want to fix where the dot sits in the window, but it does work, and this is technically where the XPS series red dot would sit witness height wise with the G33. My daughter's over there playing in her little bouncy. So this is where it would sit with that. The next one is, this is a Reptilia. I believe this is a 1.54. Yeah. And with this G33, it also fits just fine. It's just a smidge high compared to the 1.54, but it does work on both absolute co-witness, like I just showed you, and the lower 1/3, because this is technically lower 1/3 at 1.54, with no spacer. So this one setup with no spacer works with that. This is a ScalarWorks. It's a 1.54 or no, it's a 1.57. So this is also lower 1/3, no spacer, and it lines up pretty well. So as you can see, that no spacer works pretty good with absolute co-witness and lower 1/3 witness up to, this is the EXPS Eotech, which is the lower 1/3 or Eotech's version of lower 1/3, but it actually sits at a 1.7 height. Same magnifier, no spacer. It's going to sit at, it's going to be usable at this height as well. It is a little bit low, but it does work. You can adjust the elevation and get your red dot where it needs to be in that window, and it works just fine with this same setup that's worked on all three other setups. Now, where the spacer comes into play, with this optic being 1.7, right, you can add the spacer, and it's going to get it a little bit more where it needs to be in line with the dot. And the nice thing about running the spacer is that it also works with a 193 height. I don't have one currently that has a 193 on the gun, but take my word on it. It's tall enough for the 170. Actually, I'll show you. I'll grab a this is the 154 again, and an Eotech G33 with the spacer. As you can see, technically this is lower 1/3 and this is the G33 lower 1/3, but since this is made for 1.7 to 1.93, it's going to be a good bit taller than this, so I wouldn't recommend using, well, it's actually probably not far off from the difference between the no spacer and the 1.4 mount. But anyways, this is a little tall for the 1.54, even though this is technically a lower 1/3 mount. So with that being said, there's a good reason why you could have two magnifiers, one with a spacer, one with no spacer. This one does 1.4, so absolute, all the way up to like 1.7. It'll do, 1.7 on the EXPS3, but then your other one here will do 1.7 and 1.93. And this is without having to change anything else and re-zero or anything. I've just got two optic setups, or two magnifier setups that can work on a pretty wide variety of optic heights. So I'll show you one more time on here. Let's see. So on the 1.54, see if I can get it to focus up close. The 1.54, I'm looking center line. Yeah, it's about 1.5 center line. I don't know if you can see that or not. To the what's this thing called? The PV3. This is the magnifier with the spacer. The center line on this is really around like the 1 7/8. About 1 7/8, which an 1 7/8 converts to like almost 1.8. It's a little different, but I think it's 1.8 in decimal. So it's right between 1.70 and 1.93. So this height would work great for either one. So it's really nice how Eotech kind of, obviously they did this on purpose, but allowed you to have spacer, no spacer, and cover a wide variety of optic heights. So just wanted to share that because I've had issues with trying to figure out what I should do to each setup, and hopefully that helps and clears some stuff up. So appreciate it.